welcome you to
That sentence.
the first Title VI showcase we've had at the University of Arizona. We're pleased to have three Title VI national centers here. So we thought it was a good occasion in the third year of our four-year grant cycle to share with you some of the accomplishments during the grant cycle thus far. First, I'd like to just explain for those of you who might not know what Title VI is. In 1958, a significant date because it's immediately post-Sputnik, when the United States decided that there was a paucity of information about international studies and foreign languages in the United States, the National Defense Education Act was passed to create federal support for international studies. They felt that it was important to maintain a national pool of experts with information about all different world areas, since one never knows which is going to be most important at any given moment for national purposes. And so the funding was started. In 1965, it continued under Title VI of the Higher Education Act, which is administered through the U.S. Department of Education. Hence, these centers are called Title VI centers. Now, there are a lot of competitive programs under the Act that fund a lot of activities. These include American Overseas Research Centers, Fulbright Case, group projects abroad, undergraduate international studies and foreign language centers. There are quite a few programs, but we're going to concentrate on these three that are prominently represented at the University of Arizona. The first mentioned are the National Resource Centers, of which there are 127. These are to create and maintain a national capacity in teaching foreign languages and also in area studies instruction. Foreign language and area studies fellowships are also funded under the Act, largely administered through the National Resource Centers, though not exclusively. And then language resource centers, of which we have one at the university. There are 15 of these. And this is a very different kind of center, as you'll see in the presentation by our colleagues from CERCLL. Now, here we have three centers. The Center for Middle Eastern Studies, which was founded in 1975. Recently, one of our staff members, Megan Young, discovered in an old catalog, she was doing some research for us, that in 1969, a Center for Oriental and Asian Studies was funded under the National Defense Education Act here, which we hadn't even realized. But at any rate, as far as Title VI centers, when Title VI came in, the first is Center for Middle Eastern Studies. In 2000, Center for Latin American Studies, and in 2006, the Center for Educational Resources in Culture, Language, and Literacy, CERCLL. It used to be that we had three-year grant cycles. Now we're pleased to say on four-year grant cycles, so we're not quite so constantly scrambling to put together the next grant. Now, all three of our centers are funded during this current 2010 to, it's really 2013, but it will end in August of 2014 grant cycle. And the total revenue we generate, this is including center support and CLAS fellowship support, is over $4 million during this grant cycle. And this is even after the 47% budget cut that we all sustained last year and which has continued this year. So it really brings quite a lot in support for activities of one sort and another, and also for fellowships to the university. Now, I'd like to hand off now to Lynn Wall, the co-director of the Center for Educational Resources in Culture, Language, and Literacy. That was the former Carol.
Okay, so I'm Linda Waugh. I'm co-director of CERCLL, and I was also the PI on the original grant for CERCLL that we got in 2006. The LRCs, as Anna's just been saying, are national centers with a mandate to work on various issues having to do with the teaching and learning by Americans of less commonly taught languages around the world, or we call them LCTLs. As Anne said, there are 15 centers. 10 of them are organized around general themes, and that's what CERCLL is one of those, and I'll talk about that later. And then 5 are for language area related issues. And there's one that's particularly important, both for CMES and CERCLL, as the National Middle Eastern Language Resource Center and the LRC. Our mandate is to work with the other LRCs. I have a list here. So we have a common website, we collaborate with the other LRCs on projects, and we have close collaborations with 8 other centers. I won't go through them and what we've done, but we do have a lot of collaboration, including the one, the NMLRC. CERCLL's name comes from our primary focus on the nexus of what we feel are the most important areas associated with language learning and teaching. Culture is one. Indeed, in learning a language, one is learning about another culture, including society. Culture is a very large term. And in order to be proficient in a language, one has to understand that other culture. Can't speak a language without seeing it as embedded in and really connected to culture. We are also focused on literacy, especially multiple literacies, including the reading and written language, of course, but also many other types of literacies like technological, media, and multimedia literacies, and cultural literacy. Thus, language, culture, and literacy are all intertwined with each other. On the left here, we're going to talk now about CERCLL's focus. On the left, we have the languages that we have been involved with and are still involved with, including the less commonly taught languages. And note that we do Arabic, Persian, and Turkish, and we have collaborated with CMES on those, and Portuguese, and we collaborated with CLAS on that. We also collaborate with various departments around the university and schools and programs. So CMES in Latin American Studies, of course, and SBS. East Asian Studies, German Studies, French and Italian, Russian and Slavic Studies in COH, and Language, Reading, and Culture in the Education College. Having mentioned the interweaving of culture and language, I want to make it clear that culture means many things for us, as exemplified by the drawing on the right, which was a joint effort by participants in a workshop put on in the summer, and written down by the workshop presenter, Elizabeth Arellano Guerrero, as the participants called out what their ideas were about what makes up culture. Language, as we see, is in caps and in more or less the center, and a variety of domains are listed around it. Dialect is noted, which also has to do with language and culture. But culture goes all the way from high culture like literature and high culture music, to issues like values, attitudes, beliefs, daily practices, traditions, religion, artifacts, gender, to popular culture like sports and other types of music, popular music, and includes many other areas like politics, history, geography, climate, government, technology, agriculture. In short, whatever is germane to what we say, how we say it, whom we say it to, what's appropriate in given settings, and how language is related to culture and society. These are all relevant and important for language learning, and therefore relevant for CERCLL. I will now turn this over to my colleague Beatrice.
Hello everyone, I'm Beatrice Zitri, I'm the co-director in the wall of CERCLL. And I'm going to talk about CERCLL and its impact at the University of Arizona. And the first thing I want to say is that CERCLL has a positive impact on faculty, students, and departments at the U of A, but also beyond this institution. So in funding select projects, CERCLL is making it possible for faculty members to pursue areas of research that they might not have as readily engaged in without it. Many publications have come out of funded projects, and some of these publications are here on this slide. There's more than this, but at least what we can say is that all these publications have UA and UA faculty and student input in them. Project faculty have also received travel funding beyond that provided by their own units to present their work at regional, national, and international conferences. And in doing so, they're able to enhance both their profile, but that of their departments and the UA in general. Through CERCLL and its funded projects, graduate students have the opportunity to participate in faculty-led projects and co-present, co-author publications with faculty. They receive scholarships to attend workshops and conferences hosted by CERCLL. In other words, CERCLL plays an important role in the professionalization of graduate students. CERCLL is also supporting students' events by contributing some level of funding for guest speakers or conference-related items. Finally, CERCLL is a major draw for many graduate students. Prospective students have attended CERCLL-sponsored events, and the quality of their experience has in a number of cases been the decisive factor in their selection of the U of A as the institution where they want to pursue their studies. And finally, through funded project and graduate student help position, CERCLL, as you will see next, has many collaborative activities with departments. And for departments, collaborations with CERCLL means additional faculty and student support and opportunities for professional development that do not exist without it. In some cases, the materials developed by these projects have actually benefited some UA departments directly. So here I want to talk a little bit more about CERCLL projects. CERCLL projects fall in 3 different areas, and the project is listed here on this slide, and the next ones are for this grant cycle. And if you want details about projects that were actually funded in the previous grant cycle, I just invite you to go on the website where you'll find more additional information. So the first area of projects is that of innovative pedagogies and materials. And on this slide, you have 5 projects, several of which span across several departments at the University of Arizona, while a few others, as you can see, span across several institutions. So Chantal Warner is here to talk about our hypermedia project.
I'm Chantal Warner. I'm in German Studies, and I'm going to talk about, as Beatrice mentioned, the first project listed here, the hypermedia project. And this was actually a project that developed out of a previous grant cycle, a project that was done by Professor Rami Ariev, using these hypertext annotations in order to develop more extensive reading, to help students to read more readily, more rapidly. And the idea behind this project was to take a similar software and some of the same methods, but to help students to practice other ways of reading, and in fact to slow down the reading process, to force students to unpack meanings, and in doing so to develop critical language awareness and also cultural literacy. So the emphasis in all of the different sub-projects that belong to this project, the hypermedia project, has really been on getting students to recognize the complexity of meaning that is needed in order to advance to higher levels of literacy and higher language abilities. So one of the driving questions has been, how can we use this kind of software to foster this pedagogically? Another guiding principle and an important principle of the project has been user-friendliness. So how do we make this develop this software such that a number of different educators in different contexts can readily use it. And so what we did was to develop a software in collaboration with the ArcLight team at Brigham Young University. And this is it, the Tiara, as it's dubbed, the interactive annotated reader application. And so it allows users to basically cut and paste, to dump a text in this section, and then to easily add annotations in the forms of text, image, audio, and videos, which then, when a user clicks on the blue words, the highlighted words, appear in the side here. And this is just one of the 3 views that are available. You can also have them in thumbnails or kind of a random assortment. And this allows students to really engage with the relationship between text and context, or text and other texts, in really new and exciting ways. In addition to the development of the software, what we've been working on is developing actually some texts in German, Arabic, Turkish, and Portuguese. And these texts are also housed in the Tiara site. So new users can come and use those materials, or they can even readapt them and create new annotations and work with them in order to use them in different contexts. We also have some colleagues who have expressed interest in developing texts in Chinese and in Hebrew, so there's a lot of room for expansion there. And right now, the collaborators and I are working on developing a website, which will house sample materials, so the things that we've been piloting in our own classrooms, as well as some pedagogical suggestions, so that if other people come and want to use the project, they have an idea of where they can start. So this site will hopefully represent the many different kinds of diverse ways in which the software can be used, and as you can see, there's a lot of room also for new ideas and new development. I'm going to turn back over to Lynn, who's going to talk about some of the other projects. As
can see, we have lots of projects, and we can't talk about every single one of them. So we decided to talk also about one of our projects that is an outreach project into the community. This one is called Community Connections K through 16 Initiatives, and I'm the project director for it. Under this project, we do many things, including summer workshops, and we've done those since 2008. And we've also done some during the academic year. And there are several people here who have done some of these workshops. The audience for this is usually K through 12 teachers, community college and university faculty, and graduate students. Some of them are online, and then some of the workshop presentation and materials are also put online on the CERCLL website. There are scholarships for teachers and students. And every summer, UA students can attend for free. K through 12 local and regional public and charter and private school teachers are invited. But also we've had teachers from California, Ohio, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Texas, Washington, Wisconsin. In other words, we have a national reach in our workshops. The university level includes Ursinus College, New Mexico State University, Beloit College, City College in New York, and Wellesley College, and a few international universities, including Saudi Arabia's King Saud University. And once in a while, we have a few others from other types of units. So we have people from Thailand's Council on International Educational Exchange, and CTL Consulting, a Tucson healthcare consulting company. The presenters at these workshops are from the University of Arizona, faculty and sometimes graduate students in the SLAT program, but also invited speakers from elsewhere. So, for example, Rick Kern from University of California, Berkeley, put on a workshop on literary and semiotic awareness in the foreign language curriculum. And Gilbert Furstenberg from MIT, who talked about developing intercultural competence in the classroom. We've also had K through 12 teachers sometimes give workshops. For example, TUSD's Karen Philibaum McGinnis gave a workshop on Web 2.0 in the world language classroom. Now, some of the topics for the workshops are CERCLL projects. So, for example, Beatrice's project on Percolate, and of course Chantal has also given a workshop. Also a project on games to teach or games to learn. In the first grant period, it was Judd Ruggell from ASU and Ken McAllister from the U of A. And in this funding period, John Reinhardt from the U of A and Julie Sykes from the University of New Mexico. And then a project that was on less commonly taught languages, literacy in those languages, especially East Asian languages with the issue of characters and so forth. That was put on by Ken and Yetta Goodman and David Yaden. Some of our workshops are language specific. For example, Portuguese for heritage learners, done by Ana Carvalho. Some are general, they're about multiliteracies of various sorts. And many are technology related, some tangentially and some being the focus. And we have found that those tend to be the most popular. A lot of people want to find about technology and language teaching and learning. And as Beatrice pointed out, we have publications. Some of those publications come from the workshops. That is, we turn the workshops into publication. Okay, I will turn this back over to Beatrice.
So in the last area, I mentioned earlier that we have 3 areas for our project, and the last one has to do with knowledge sharing, and I'm going to more specifically address the Intercultural Competence Conference. So the ICC conference, as we call it, or the IC conference, was first held in 2008, and it has taken place every 2 years since. In 2014, we will be holding the 4th conference, and its focus is on preparing and supporting K-16 language teachers to teach for intercultural competence in and beyond the classroom. The IC conference is partly what CERCLL is actually known for. This conference is the public face of CERCLL, but many of the workshops that CERCLL gives and projects that CERCLL funds relate to this particular topic as well. Collaborative events have involved numerous UA collaborators, including CMES and CLAS, SLAT, COH, SBS, the Confucius Institute, CECL, who have all sponsored the conference. Other LRCs, CalPERT, CARLA, CASTLES, and NHLRC have also contributed funds in support of this conference. The Arizona Humanities Council provided funds for 2 of the 3 already held conferences. And all these collaborators have funded conference and workshop presenters, scholarships, among many other things. In terms of our public, attendees from every continent except Antarctica have actually attended this conference. In 2010 and 2012, we had presentations from people coming from Algeria, Australia, Brazil, Canada, China, Colombia, Cyprus, Denmark, France, Germany, Hong Kong, Hungary, Italy, Japan, Mexico, New Zealand, Saudi Arabia, Slovakia, Thailand, Turkey, United Kingdom, and the United States. In terms of the number of people attending, in 2008, we had 110 people attending. We had 260 in 2010, and then 290 in 2012, and we hope to increase these numbers in 2014. We funded scholarships for K-12 teachers as well as students at the university. Our impact was also, our participants came from other institutions of higher learning globally, but we also had people coming from non-educational organizations. We had attendees that came from the Department of Defense, Translation Services Organization, other organizations that are interested in intercultural competence, the media, and also other consulting organizations. And in terms of the follow-up of this conference, many publications have actually resulted from it. We have online presentations on the CERCLL YouTube channel, as well as materials that's available for download. We also publish proceedings of this conference, and we have an edited series with Mouton that will actually arise from that conference, and we're just in the middle of confirming this. So now I would like to give the floor to my colleagues from the Center for Latin American Studies.
Thank you. I'm the only one presenting today, but I do want to make clear that what I'm going to talk about today and the kinds of things we do at LAS would not be possible without our core faculty and our incredible staff. So I'm just the mouthpiece for this. I became Director of Latin American Studies in 2011, 6 months after LAS was awarded a National Resource Center Title VI grant. And so I've titled my talk today, Engagement, Creating Spheres of Critical Thought. I borrowed engagement from the new president. I hope she doesn't mind. And then I've categorized some of the things we do into 5 different sections. So I'll try to move through those rather quickly. We do have a handout that gives much more specifics on the kinds of things we've done. But since taking over at the center, what I've tried to do is create an arena that fosters broad intellectual vibrancy and scholarly engagement with a wide range of social, cultural, political, economic, and scientific issues. And since its inception in 1974, LAS has grown to become one of the leading programs of its kind in the country. At its heart, it's an interdisciplinary center with 5 part-time core faculty and 150 affiliated faculty from 42 colleges, schools, and research institutes. So LAS reaches across campus, geographical boundaries, and institutional borders to promote a range of issues concerns from the US, Mexico border to Patagonia. So the first section I want to talk about is scholarly engagements. LAS tries to facilitate a dialogue between and among scholars from the U of A, other institutions, think tanks, NGOs in the United States and Latin America. We provide faculty travel grants and small grants for academic collaboration in the Americas, the SACA grants, that provide seed monies for building institutional and program linkages. Funded by the Outreach College in 2011, we were able to make 9 SACA awards from 7 departments, ranging from anthropology in Central America to quantum physics in Chile to public health in Mexico. In 2012, we awarded 12 grants from 9 departments, ranging from biofuels to algae in Chile to music and virtual language training in Brazil. And with our Title VI funds, we've been able to give some monies to professors for their research, Professor Stacy Wiggenfield for Art and Water in Mexico, and Professor Janet Sturman in Ethnomusicology Conference in Latin America that just happened last month. We have an active and supportive advisory board, as well as numerous events that we co-sponsor over the course of the year, 60 to 70 events per semester, with at least 15 run exclusively by LAS. And let me just give you an example of 2. Last spring, Professor Margaret Wilder, who's a professor in Latin American Studies as well as in Geography, worked to bring Javier Sicilia, Mexico's poet laureate, to the university in April to a large audience to discuss his co-founding of the movement Caravan for Peace and Justice that seeks to end the violence of the drug war in Mexico that left over 60,000 people dead in the last 6 years, including his own son. We've also done a faculty blitz where 10 affiliate faculty had 5 minutes each to give a synopsis of their teaching and research, and it was very enthusiastically received by graduate and undergraduate students. Our core faculty also receive external grants from the Ford Foundation, NOAA, Fulbright, and the State Department Western Hemisphere Institute. We've also initiated collaboration this year with the highly regarded UC Berkeley Latin American Studies program, promoting an exchange of Latin American visitor scholars between Berkeley and the University of Arizona, where they will come and give a major talk at the U of A. Harley Schenken was, missing page 2, sorry. Harley Schenken was importantly the director of the center and our very first to do that presentation for us. He gave a talk. He's a well-known labor scholar, and he gave a talk on the effects of NAFTA some 20 years later. It was very well received with over 100 people in the audience for a Friday afternoon, so we were pretty thrilled about that. We also have started a human rights initiative in the center, just getting underway. Our inaugural event was human rights, indigenous peoples, and extractive industries across the Americas. We just held that conference on the 1st of February. One of our keynote speakers was Dr. Salvador Aquino, a UA graduate in anthropology with a PhD, now in Oaxaca, Mexico, a Zapotec. We co-partnered with the Indigenous Peoples Law and Public Policy Program at Rogers College of Law for a very exciting day-long conference that looked at anthropology, history, activism, and the juridical system as ways to redress some of these kinds of issues across the Americas, and that was the geographical point, not only in South America or Central America or Mexico, but also to bring it into the United States, and actually we crossed the land bridge right over to the Russian far north. And it was a mix of faculty and graduate students from the U of A, as well as some outside scholars. We were particularly excited about that. Another project that we're about to get underway, we're applying for Confluence Center funds, is with Dr. Matias Bianchi, an Argentine scholar who's a lecturer in the School of Government and Public Policy, and we're going to start a virtual seminar series where we will bring in real time Latin American scholars and UA scholars and graduate students together in real-time conversation about issues of the day, and allowing us to hear firsthand from Latin Americans what they think those crucial issues might be. We're proposing to start out with human trafficking, the drug war, public policy and diplomacy between the US and Latin America, environmental and particularly extractive industry issues. So we're very excited about that. Our second arena, and these are just some, this is from the conference, having at the end of that day. The second thing is engage pedagogy. We award both BA and MAs in Latin American Studies. We have over 70 majors and 50 minors. We've recently revamped our major curriculum to include 2 years of language training in Spanish or Portuguese, a study abroad program, or an immersion program in Tucson. We have 2 study abroad programs out of the center, the well-regarded Antigua, Guatemala, and a new initiative we're starting this year in Havana, Cuba. And we also have study abroad linkages with programs in Mexico and several countries in Central and South America. We only have limited scholarship and research funds awards to send our students for study abroad, but it's one initiative we want to try to beef up so we can get some scholarship funds, particularly to send students who otherwise might not be able to go, even though the tuition on credits is 1-to-1 without being able to work during the school year and or that those extra funds the family might not have. We're also developing a 400 level course that we're very excited about. So when these students come back from immersion or study abroad, we offer a course in which we take their understanding of those experiences and translate it through an analysis so that they can start having some sense of what they've seen and heard and the issues involved within that. We've also added on 7 new courses in our 300 level within the departments so that we have some control over what that curriculum may look like. We have 440 students, oh my goodness, in our MA program and 15 PhD minors. And we also have dual degree programs of law, public administration, public health, and journalism. We offer Tinker Foundation funds to allow graduate students to travel to Latin America, or MA students for their thesis work, and PhD students for their preliminary efforts out to the field. And then in the fall, we run a Tinker Symposium that allows the graduate students then to present that work to the campus community. And it gives them that kind of practice, again, to translate what they've done and seen into scholarly work. We also have a very successful 3-year collaboration with Dave Yetman and Dan Duncan for our our documentary filmmaking workshops, and we hope to expand on that very soon. And we're in the planning stages with journalism to put together a journalism boarder school and certificate that is a collaboration with MALAS, in which not only Celeste Bustamante in journalism has already been doing this down in Nogales. We want to continue and follow up on that and offer social science courses so that the journalism students actually have a contextual understanding of what they're seeing on the ground and reporting on. So we're very excited about that. Our next is Endangered Languages. We have CLAS, the Foreign Area Language Study Awards, for full year funding as well as summer fellowships for graduate students and across the professional schools. In the last 2 academic years, we've awarded 14 CLAS fellowships, 5 in CLAS, Maya language, and 9 in Portuguese. And in the last 2 summers, 12 for Portuguese and 7 for indigenous language, including CLAS, Trujillo, Creole, Guarani, and Mixta. I'm also happy to report that we now teach CLAS Maya on campus here at the center. And we've made connections and collaborations with the Stone Center for Latin American Studies at Tulane that has had a well-respected 30-year immersion program in Antigua, Guatemala in CLAS. So our students are able to do a full year of language training in CLAS at the university and then immerse themselves for 6 weeks in the summer in sitio. As our CERCLL friends told us, it's absolutely crucial to be on the spot where the language is being lived and experienced. We also have a program in Fortaleza, Brazil, where our students can go learn Portuguese, and it's been a very successful program. There are also 2 programs in the Spanish and Portuguese department. Professor Katia Brazera in her cutting-edge virtual training with hyperlink and global simulation projects. We do K through 16 teacher outreach, offering events annually, usually somewhere between 6 and 8 for professional development opportunities for K through 12 teachers, and helping to incorporate Latin American themes into their curriculum, workshops, conferences, lectures, etc. We also hold booths, have booths and tables at major conferences, both in Arizona and nationally, for teachers to understand some more of what we do. We received a Community Connections grant from the University of Arizona in 2012, and we started a pilot teacher training and curriculum development on the borderlands. And we've had 2 successful week-long workshops. The first, the Borderlands Summer Institute in the summer of June 2012, and just recently a Borderlands Teacher Institute at UA South in February 2013. We applied for and received excellent rankings for a $200,000 National Endowment for the Humanities grant to bring this to a national stage, arguing that if we could bring 30 teachers nationwide, K through 12, to the borderlands for 3 weeks to learn about history, culture, and social issues. Although we did get excellent ratings, we were never funded. But the rationale behind doing this was with the changing demographics. The curriculum development of the borderlands is absolutely crucial. So we plan to resubmit that grant elsewhere. And also, we are the lead in the Latin American Resource Consortium of Arizona, LARCA, which is a consortium of 10 community colleges across the state, plus NAU, which provides pathways for an LAS degree through the community college and then come to the University of Arizona. Lastly, I don't want to take up too much time, but these are some photos from the teachers being out and about in the deserts, lands. And lastly, community engagement. We started in 2011. We got a grant from the Arizona Humanities Council and started the Borderlands Film Series. That is to bring films and directors to the underserved South Tucson community, to raise issues of concern that are often not raised in public discourse or the spaces to do so. We started with the Guatemalan filmmaker Luis Argueta's Abuse, the post-fill raids. Luis was on hand. We had a very engaging conversation down at one of the community centers, and since that time we've been able to build on that. We're in our 8th year of collaboration with Cine Mexico. That is a partnership with the Hansen Film Institute in Media Arts for a week-long films from Mexico, often with the directors. It's coming up at the end of March. I urge you all, there's some just fabulous films that take place. And lastly, we've just developed a collaboration with the Loft Cinema, in which we brought John Carlos Frey, the documentary filmmaker, and the PBS News magazine Need to Know producer Brian Epstein to Tucson, and where they showed several documentaries that had been on TV about murder by Border Patrol agents over the last 4 years, over 15 people. 100 people showed up and filled the entire hall, and we had to turn away another 100 at the door, so we were very pleased about that. Also, I forgot to mention, LAS now has a YouTube channel. So for our Indigenous conference, we did 5-minute interviews with each of our participants, and so they gave a synopsis of their arguments and ideas, and that's now up on our YouTube channel. We plan to use that to disseminate more and more of our information. And lastly, I want to thank so much CMES and CERCLL for the wonderful collaborations we've been able to have with them with the Intercultural Competence Conference and the K through 12 outreach. And I also want to especially thank Ann Betteridge for putting together this idea and the energy and initiative behind it. Thanks.
Thank you, Linda. As you can see, we're all busy in all sorts of directions, and many of them involve collaboration. One of the challenges of putting together this particular session was trying to think how to summarize all that we do, and it's not entirely possible. We have, as you see with our grant funds, and related institutional commitments, been able to support a lot of areas of activity. Instruction is extremely important to us. We put a lot of money into language instruction, which is really a core of Title VI. So we have support for Turkish language instruction, which we share with the School of Middle Eastern and North African Studies, leverage funds, which also help support the teaching of Arabic. We support fully a course taught by former U.S. Ambassador to Oman, David Dunford. That's a course on business environment in the Middle East and North Africa, which is popular with undergraduates, and he's been wonderful in helping arrange internships for our students, so good things come of this in many ways. Lectures and workshops we sponsor and co-sponsor across campus. We have a couple coming up soon. I thought I would mention those to you. One is Engaging Language and Culture Through Innovative Technologies. That is the Western Consortium of Title VI Middle East Centers has a language workshop, a language pedagogy workshop every spring. And every grant cycle, it's at the University of Arizona, at least one of those times, some cycles too. But we have that coming up at the end of March. We also have a symposium that we're going to be cooperating with German Studies on and some other units on campus on, it's called A Movable East, about the Middle East in Europe, Middle Eastern populations in Europe and what's going on with them. For professional development, we have, even after this budget cuts, we were able to save professional development funds, especially for language faculty and instructors. So we send them to pedagogy workshops during the year, and particularly during the summer, to enrich their knowledge of the latest that's going on in language pedagogy. This is something that benefits our faculty and also graduate student TAs whom we send. So I think that they all benefit from that enormously. Faculty and student travel grants for conference presentations. Our students are very active in a lot of areas, particularly anthropology, linguistics, and history, and we fund them to go to national and international conferences. In part, they also get funds from other places, resourceful folks that they are. We are developing a new study abroad program and have one in place. Christian Sinclair, our assistant director, will tell you about those in a moment. Those are things that benefit our students and we hope will also be of interest to students from other institutions. We also get CLAS fellowships. We have CLAS fellowships for both undergraduate and graduate students, academic year and summer awards. Christian is our CLAS coordinator and will tell you more about those. Cultural events, we also work with the Loft Cinema. We've provided speakers for them for their human rights film series, and work with them also sponsoring films during the year. We have a photography exhibit that we have annually, and this has been going on for many, many years at the center. We think of a theme for the year, we put out a call to the community, and students, faculty, and community members contribute photos on the theme, which then are put up in the center. We have a large opening, 80 to 100 people come to it. It really connects us with the community in important ways, but we continue to have the exhibit up all year. And classes, both K through 12 classes and university classes, sometimes visit. They end up writing essays about the photos. It's a nice way to bring people in and have them engage with some really interesting material from different parts of the Middle East. Now, the Western Consortium of Title VI Middle East National Resource Centers consists of the University of Arizona, University of Washington, UC Berkeley, UCLA, Portland State University, and UT Austin. We cooperate both in the language workshop that I've already mentioned to you, but also in supporting an advanced summer institute in Persian language. Because so many of our students cannot go to Iran to study Persian, there needs to be a place where they can do high-level studies of Persian stateside. And so an immersion program was developed in Texas, but all of the centers help support that. We also have an extremely extensive outreach program about which I'll tell you more in a minute. But in terms of instruction, I wanted to mention something in particular to you that is a major investment on our part, but we think something that pays off in a tremendous number of ways. This is the leveraging of new positions. In this grant cycle, we've been able to create 2 new positions. The first is that of Assistant Professor of Arabic, our new Middle East Language Coordinator, Dr. Sonia Sahiri. She has a position in the School of Middle Eastern and North African Studies, and she has been instrumental working with us on grants that have brought new support to the university. Christian Sinclair and I worked with her pretty much jointly writing a grant for something called Project Go, which is designed to help teach Arabic to ROTC cadets. Christian will tell you more about that. And then also very recently we got the good news that another grant on which she worked very importantly, was a grant to bring an Arabic flagship, which brings a lot of resources to the University of Arizona to really beef up the teaching of Arabic in all sorts of ways. Together, those bring about $630,000 a year to the University of Arizona beginning next year. So this is not inconsiderable. When you bring new people, you get new courses, a vibrant new colleague, but other things also come of it that I think are wonderful investments. The second position that we were able to help create was that of an assistant professor of Middle East public health. One of the things that the federal government very much likes us to do, and which makes a great deal of sense on an interdisciplinary campus like ours, is to connect area studies and language study with professional fields. This time we were able to do so with the College of Public Health and with SBS. Lulu Kobesi was hired. She has just begun her work on campus, and there are a number of things that she's going to be involved in. One is to finally help us, we hope, launch a dual MA program in public health and Middle Eastern and North African studies. A lot of work was done to develop that, and it's just the finishing touches, but now that we have a person there who will be dedicated to it, I think it will get up and running very soon indeed. So we're really excited about that. She's already working on a number of grant proposals. These are ones that will work with Middle Eastern communities in Arizona and California, as well as in the Middle East, also with refugee communities. One of her proposals has to do with Syrian refugee communities. But these are projects that, apart from bringing financial support to the university if they succeed, which I very much hope they do, and imagine that a good many of them will also involve our students in research. So it provides remarkable opportunities to bring public health and social and behavioral science students together. She'll also be teaching a course, I believe, on Middle East public health next year, and will work with our students also on research techniques, I think, through that, and again, bring those together. So let's see what else we've been up to. Now, CMES outreach. Our outreach program is something quite remarkable. You see, and it's remarkable in part because of the person who is at its center. That is our outreach coordinator, Lisa Adali, whom you see in a picture up there in the left corner. She won an award presented at the National Council for Social Studies. It was the Global Educator of the Year, presented by Rick Steves. She's done amazing work. Last summer was off to had scholarships to go to 2 different institutions. One of them is the First World War Museum in Kansas City. She's now working with that museum on an NEH grant that will hopefully take teachers to the Balkans and Western Turkey on the occasion of the centenary of the First World War. That grant proposal will be out soon, but I think it will be quite wonderful. In the past, she has worked on a number of proposals to Fulbright Hays. The center, since 2000, has had 9 trips that have taken teachers, and teachers nationally. We try to emphasize Arizona, but involve other teachers as well, going to different Middle Eastern countries where they do curriculum development. As part of what their commitment is for us, they develop lesson plans on the Middle East based on their participation. And now every year the center gives a lesson plan award for the best lesson plans on the Middle East, the most creative. And we've gotten absolutely wonderful things submitted to us. We have, I know that it's well over 80 lesson plans now posted on our website. We hear from people internationally that are using them. They're quite remarkable. And Lisa has CDs created of these lesson plans, and when she goes to teachers' conferences, the National Council for Social Studies, the National Council for Teachers of English, other conferences as they emerge, she hands out literally hundreds of these CDs with lesson plans to them. So it really enriches the curriculum on a national level. And then those teachers want to go on future trips, come to future institutes that we have. She's going to be holding an institute for community college faculty on teaching about the First World War and the Middle East coming up this spring. We've gotten some support for these various programs in addition to Title VI from the Marshall Foundation and from the Arizona Humanities Council. They've been very helpful and very supportive. These collaborations with community colleges are quite interesting. There's a kind of connection that she has developed in first developing a Middle East Studies course at Cholla High School, a predominantly Hispanic high school in Tucson. She developed the course and now co-teaches it with a teacher there. She has worked with TUSD on grant proposals that now support the teaching of Arabic in middle schools and high schools in Tucson. Then the students who are in her class have been, some of them studying Arabic, some have come on to the university and studied Turkish or other languages and come into Middle Eastern studies, students who otherwise would not have even gone to college. She's even had to meet with their parents sometimes to persuade them of the reasonableness of coming to the U of A rather than Pima College and studying Middle Eastern studies. But she's succeeded wildly in that. She's also managed to work with Cochise College so that the students who are taking her Middle East Studies course, the ones who choose to, also do a lot of online study and are getting college credit for their high school course that's done at Choya High School. This has been just a wonderful model, and now she's developed an online course to teach other teachers how to teach about Middle East studies. The course is now in the catalog of TUSD, so it can be implemented elsewhere, but it's turned out to be a wonderful way to bring new students into the university and into Middle Eastern studies. With national education organizations, she has worked with the National Council for Social Studies doing day-long workshops on how to teach about the Ottoman Empire, for instance. She encourages local teachers to go to these conferences and give presentations on their own work and lesson plans. And if they're shy, she pairs them with another teacher so they learn how to do it, or works with them herself and co-presents. And then in future years, they take off on their own and do a beautiful job. Particularly the First World War Museum is the one that she's working with now. I'm sure that good things will come of that, and I look forward to reporting about those to you. Now, I'd like to ask our Assistant Director, Christian Sinclair, to tell you a little bit about CLAS, Study Abroad, and Project Go.
Thank you. So the few minutes remaining, we're going to talk about CLAS, Education Abroad, and one particular project that Dr. Betteridge mentioned, Project Go. CLAS is the Foreign Language and Area Studies awards that are given out for less commonly taught languages, critical languages. We offer them in Arabic, Hebrew, Persian, and Turkish. Last year we offered the very first CLAS award for Kurdish. A graduate student from Minas went to Turkey, the very first foreigner ever to study Kurdish officially in Turkey. These awards are offered to undergraduate and graduate students. We have a competition for summer awards. We give out approximately 8 awards every summer. This competition is for graduates and undergraduates. They compete against each other for these awards. Students who go away, who receive the award for the summer are encouraged to study abroad. We send students to Morocco, Tunisia, Egypt, Oman, Jordan, Turkey as well. During the academic year, we have 6 undergraduate awards. They're given $10,000 in tuition, $5,000 in a stipend, a living stipend. Graduate students get quite a lot more, full tuition plus a $15,000 stipend. Over the 4 years of this grant cycle, we're giving away approximately $1.1 million in funding. Much of this is for students to spend time abroad in places in the Middle East and North Africa, learning these languages in intensive language acquisition opportunities. We get applications from across the university, not just Minas, not just those students who are majoring in Middle Eastern studies, but from public health, from journalism, as far afield as aerospace engineering. We have students from, well, later on I'm going to show you this very interesting map. We'll show you where these students come from. Education abroad. Rather than saying study abroad, what we like to say is education abroad. CMES sees itself as a locus for students who are interested in spending time in the Middle East or North Africa, whether it's for learning a language, going doing field work, or short-term exchanges. We provide that advising, matching students' academic needs with a location, what programs they should go on, what organizations they might seek out for help with funding. We also provide advising for students going to the region for research. We have extraordinary amount of connections at universities, nonprofits throughout the region. CMES in this grant cycle started the University of Arizona's very first study abroad program in the Middle East. The Office of Study Abroad and Student Exchange had, up until that point, affiliations with many institutions of higher education in the region, but not until last year did we actually have a program in place in the region. And that's Arizona and Jordan. Students can go there for 8 weeks. It's an intensive Arabic language opportunity, not only in modern standard Arabic, but also in colloquial Jordanian Arabic, which makes this program unique nationwide because there are no other programs that offer an intensive Levantine Arabic experience. In addition to Arabic, there's a Middle Eastern Studies course, and we're trying this year to get a political science course. Next year, we'll be starting Arizona in Turkey. We just received approval from Study Abroad and Student Exchange for that. We'll be located in Izmir. Same model as Arizona in Jordan, 8 weeks with intensive language acquisition and also Turkish studies. In addition to this, we work with other campus units to provide cultural orientations. If they're putting together a trip to the region, most recently we worked with Mark Fredrickson and his students' College of Architecture. They went over to Oman. We gathered a group together to go over there to provide some, it's about 2 hours of orientation for them, cultural orientation, language orientation as well. Finally, Project Go. This is Project Global Officers providing funding from Department of Defense and administered through the Institute for International Education in Washington. It offers Arabic language and culture training to ROTC cadets here at the U of A, Navy, Army, Air Force. This is done in collaboration with the School of Middle Eastern and North African Studies. Currently we have 14 cadets taking Arabic, first year Arabic, second year Arabic, as well as Levantine Arabic. And the program offers 16 scholarships for summer study. So this ties in nicely with our study abroad opportunities. 9 students from Project Go will head to Jordan this summer with us. 6 students will actually stay here for the intensive Arabic program that Minas offers. It's a 3-year grant with a total of approximately $1 million. And in addition to working with CMES and the Global Initiatives Office, the new Arabic flagship at Minas will strengthen these ties as well, attracting students from across the country in ROTC and flagship, and then sending them to our programs abroad. So that wraps up CMES and the presentations for the 3 centers. What we'd like to do now is show you a little bit graphically how we work together, where we work. Now the next image that you're going to see, which you might have seen already on the handout, is rather psychedelic. In our conversations with the 3 centers, we thought, how can we map this out graphically so that we can begin to understand how the university benefits from having 3 Title VI centers on campus? And in the yellow circles you see the Title VI centers. The thickness of the line represents the relationship between the 2 units. The thicker the line, the stronger the relationship, the more collaborative the relationship. The larger the circle, that indicates the total combined collaboration with those 3 units, with that particular college or unit or department. So these are the units and colleges that benefit from all 3 centers. You can see global initiatives and SBS are the 2 largest circles. Therefore, what this represents is that we work most closely with those units. And it's SBS, College of Humanities in red, College of Education in the orange. You can see here then some of the relationships between CERCLL and CMES, or rather the units that work most closely with them. And Minas was mentioned earlier by Lenoir as one that is a very strong relationship with CERCLL and CMES. Over here, CMES and Latin American Studies, heavily focused on SBS departments. But we have a disparate array of campus units: media arts, UDAL, architecture, Russian, the Hansen Film Institute. And of course then, each center has special relationships with units on campus that might not be involved with other Title VI centers. So, as perhaps Obama said last week in the State of the Union, the state of our union is strong. I think we can say the state of our unions is strong. It's also multifaceted, dynamic, complex, and I think essential to the university. without these Title VI centers, we might not have the creative engagement that we see today, producing some of the projects that we've got. The next few slides, very quickly, show where we're working in Arizona, nationally and internationally. A lot of these have been mentioned, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time reading through them. But just in Tucson alone, we work with school districts, we work with universities, community colleges, a lot of nonprofit organizations, the Tucson Festival of Books, etc., restaurants, rights groups, senior communities, etc. In Arizona, mostly we're working with universities, but also with schools around the state and other organizations. Nationally, as was mentioned by other presenters, we work with many universities around the country. We have our Western Consortium of Title VI centers. CERCLL works with many of the other LRCs around the country. In Washington, we have relations with the Department of State, Department of Education, Department of Defense, and other universities there as well. Internationally, I think no comment really is needed on this. You can see where the relationships are. Obviously, the ones here are mostly tied to Latin American studies, across North Africa and the Middle East, CMES. CERCLL has, I think, the Asian and Asian Pacific region, and mostly in Europe. So with that, I'll invite the panelists back up here for questions, and we can wrap it up. Thank you very much.